Hello, Merry Christmas and almost a Happy New Year, at least a couple of days after this podcast is released. Welcome back to New Meta Podcast. This is episode 121. Joining me, Marco and Adam. Merry Christmas to you both. Marco, how have you been over this festive period in general?
Thank you. Very Merry Christmas to yourself and the listeners also. Over the Christmas period, I've been very well. Been happy, saw some family, been relaxed and all that. And then Dota's been really unsuccessful.
Nice. Have you had a voice transplant? What's going on? What, your voice?
This is the highlight of the Christmas period, honestly. Finally, a gift worthy of New Meta.
Yeah. New microphone to all of the listeners that haven't already guessed. Yeah, pretty beautiful. Adam, likewise, welcome to the pod. How have you been last week?
Good. I have some new headphones, so that's nice. Some wireless headphones.
Wow.
Not get tripped up in a bunch of wires now, so that's fun.
The dynamic approved wireless headphones that you can take around your home. Whilst on Discord.
I was going to say, I'm not taking them into the bathroom with me.
Yeah. Now you don't have to dangle your headphones from a high position to let them unwind. I have to do that every couple of weeks or so, let them spin around to untangle. I got a new chair. We know what
Gamer
that means.
Chair.
I know.
Free MMR.
Free MMR, for sure. It's so nice, because I was using a plastic chair with a cushion on it, and compared to that, this is heavenly. It's so
and also
nice.
You're a giant, so that wasn't even good just to begin with.
Yeah, my back has been saved. Probably 5 years of pain. I mean, I'm already gonna get back pain probably from the age of about 35, but now I'm saved, at least for a bit. Maybe pushed it back a few years.
Yeah, I just realized, because I finished school and I moved back home for the meantime while I look for gainful employment, and I couldn't fit everything in my car, so I left my gamer chair there, and I'm gonna have a friend bring it to me later. But that's why I've been tanking all these games. I don't have my gamer chair.
Adam's a fake immortal without his chair.
Yeah, although I still have a better record than you. Over the last, we're all awful this last week.
Yes.
Our Christmas record is about sub 20% with a mighty amount of games.
Yeah, it's a lot of games.
It's a lot of games. It's a lot of red.
Yeah, I haven't played too many games, and this is how have games been now. Marco, you dipped your feet back into the ranked Dota 2 and got a brutal slap in the face.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a metaphor to really sum it up, but dipping the feet back in sounds just too positive.
You don't need a metaphor. There's hard stats. There's numbers.
Yeah, the hard numbers. I mean, so the backstory is that I had a few holidays off work before going back home, and I wasn't able to play games, so I gathered this mindset of, right, I'm going to go home, and you can't do as much because you can't see people, can't see extended family. So it's going to be a bit more free time to say get those games in. So I was kind of hyping myself up to play some games at home. But then I get home and a number of factors then play into the 0-6 ranked plus 1-8 unranked saga. One factor is I didn't have my keyboard, I didn't have my monitor. A second factor is I'm rusty. I've not played for a few days, so yeah, mechanically not quite there. A third factor that's perhaps more psychologically deep but detrimental is the mental lull of being at home was just too much. So my mind state of I'm in the computer room, I've got my dad on one side chatting to me all game about chess. I've got my mum coming in being like, do you want to go with tea? And I'm just completely lulled. No intensity, no focus. Just the worst mental state you could have if you're trying to play high level ranked Dota 2. And so, yes, Christmas, relaxed vibes and all that. Chocolate.
Too much Christmas cheer.
Too much Christmas cheer that then I inflicted immense Christmas sadness on my teammates by playing seriously poor. And I actually did try hard in my first few games, and there was one game the enemy morph 1v5 does. I had another brood game at some point, but I did try hard in my first few, and it just didn't work. But then the last half of them were just, I was not in a good state.
What was your score after this first day?
So the first day, 0-1, 0-2, and then I'm thinking, we can get back to a 1-2. If I finish the day -1, -30 MMR, it's not too bad. And obviously,
you go again.
1-2, you go again, it's fine. Sadly, the 0-3. And I do the wise thing and hang up the boots there. So I'm not too thinking.
I just need one more.
Yeah. And then that goes to 0-3. Let's come back tomorrow. I can't lose the first game. I've been on. Reversion to the mean is going to kick in.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 1-3 and I can just end it there happy. I try hard, or at least I try hard in my first couple, and then obviously go 0-4, and then 0-4. You don't want to be in a ranked game with me, and I'm just terrible at 0-5, 0-6, and it's just, shouldn't have done that. So I learned the lesson never to play ranked when I go home to the family home on a terrible setup.
Yeah, feels rough. I journeyed back into the ranked as well, only for 3 games though. And at first, I thought, my word, all these people around me, Adam, Marco, others, friends of the pod, losing tons and tons of games, tanking games. I'm immune because I win my first game. I'm loving life. Play a Viper. It's like nothing's changed. 7.28 might as well have been any patch. Pick Viper, go mid. Easy free win. We're taking throne at 25 minutes. It's beautiful Dota 2. I went Atos Blade Mail and Treads and E-Blades, which is interesting because usually I go Atos Greaves, but the Blade Mail was really strong this game against Wind Ranger and against a PA. And then Ghost Scepter, obviously, because I'm against Wind Ranger and PA. Play another Viper game, and it's just almost the reverse. We get rolled, and it's almost as if I've played 2 games, neither competitive, and I'm 1-1. Very, very sad, very sad. And then epic hour-long game on Lena that really should have been won. I won't go into too much detail, but against a mid-Earth Spirit that I think is meant to do really good against Lena. It's meant to be fine for the Earth Spirit against Lena, but I play the lane well. I get a kill on Earth Spirit when I get level 6. They have a pos 4 invoker, position 4 invoker that turns into the scariest hero in the map. Not necessarily the highest net worth, but doing so much work in fights to the point where our team is all thinking we have to kill this invoker at the start of every fight. It's the most important hero. And it's one of those late games that you come out of thinking, I really should have done more, because I have Hex, BKB, Travels, Yules, Daedalus, so I click so hard. I'm level 25 with the attack range talent, Fiery Souls talent, and in these late game engagements, it just feels like I'm not realizing my net worth, I'm not realizing my damage and my levels, and I'm not doing the work that I should be doing. I'm trying to kill some invoker with a Hex that's getting 4-staffed away, and then I'm trying to right-click down other heroes. Earth Spirit gets away because with BKB rolls out, and then I don't want to go on Wraith Kings. He's got Reincarnate and Blade Mail and stuff, and just the fights don't pan out how they should have. I think we had a Mars on our team that should have done a lot better in terms of locking down heroes. But when you play Lena, oftentimes the difference between winning and losing is whether or not you can get a stun with your W, I feel like. In these late game situations, if you stun someone with W, you just can win. But it's easier said than done when you have my level of execution. So ended up losing that one in heartbreaking fashion. And so I too was in the reds, although only -1. Marco would give plenty for a -1, but
take me there.
That's ranked though.
That is ranked, yeah. Unranked.
Marco was 315, I was 310, and you were 514.
Healthy,
healthy, very healthy.
Adam's
Nick
the
was
wise man.
310. Dynamic was 115.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my word.
Dynamic had 5 ranked losses in one afternoon. I mean, that's even worse than I had in a day. But Adam's the wise man, staying way clear of the ranked. He knows what's what.
Rough times.
How
have
my
your
gaming
games
chair?
been? Yeah, no gamer chair, no ranked. I like that rule. Although so far I'm minus 30 with gamer chair, so I don't know. I think my overall MMR plus minus on the plastic chair is probably plus a good chunk with some of the climbing that I've done in the past. But Adam, any games to highlight? You haven't been in ranked, but any games to highlight?
Well, I went 3-10, so not really. A lot of losses on varied heroes. Been playing the Winky. She's very fun.
Mm.
That was probably
good win
the
rate
best
on Winky.
game. 3-3, I think. Maybe 3-2, 4-2, something. Yeah. But I had that hour-long game where you were Sand King and Marco was Ember. And I was 4 Hoodwink and had 41 assists, and that was very fun.
Mm.
Oh, that was the upgraded Yules. That was very
I
cool.
got the Wind Waker and the Giant's Ring, so it made me a normal-sized hero. And I could be very big and run around over stuff. But yeah, that Wind Waker was pretty good against Nature's Prophet and Lifestealer. They just would go on somebody and I would Yules them in the air. Yules a teammate. Is worth 7,000 gold.
Yeah. Do you think the item will, as the patch goes on, do you think the item will be realized as really OP and nerfed, or do you think it's where it should be?
I think it's an extreme late game item that supports aren't going to usually get, so it's probably pretty balanced. It was pretty fun to throw yourself up in the air and move. Like you can move the Cyclone if it's on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Mystic Staff is super painful for supports to buy. Like, you're not spending 2.8k gold and then a 1.6k recipe. The build up for the item's awful. You know, it's really, really tough.
Hoodwink can farm it pretty good, but most can't. And then the level 25 Sharpshooter pure damage was pretty sick against Lifestealer because he would rage and you just bop him for 1,800 pure or something ridiculous.
You stacked for me as Nyx Assassin. That was nice.
Oh yeah, that was really epic. I liked that.
That was good. Yeah.
Didn't matter that we lost, but we did the Jenkins video.
I didn't tell you at the time, Adam, because I was embarrassed. But to fill the listeners in, we watched a Jenkins video about Batrider being able to farm Ancients. Basically, long story short, because of changes in 7.28, he now has something like 330% more damage to Ancients because of magic resist reductions on Ancients and from sticky napalm affecting creeps more, stuff like that.
Fully instead of half.
Yeah, right. And so the play is you stack Ancients for your Batrider, and then he farms, some 6 stack or 5 stack of Ancients 8 minutes into the game, and you're flying. You can have Blink BOTs at 12 minutes. I had Blink BOT at 15 minutes. I had BOT at 10. So even for me, who's never played Batrider before, pretty much a complete noob, I was only 3 minutes behind Jenkins' timing, which I actually think is not that bad. I actually think it's pretty fun.
It wasn't too bad because I missed a stack. And you also get all the neutral items at once. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I napalmed the Ancient stack. I got it up to, I think, 8 napalms. And then I went to napalm my brain just switched off, and I went to napalm the hard camp so I could farm both. And then the stack just ended on the Ancients, and I was like, that was probably really dumb. So I had to stack them up to like 10 again. So
yeah, I saw you were like
bad.
At 7 on it, and I thought you were going to do it, and then you're like, I'll have to I'll wait till I get up to 8 again. Like, what? I look over and they're like not taken. Huh?
Yeah.
Did you stack them using Impale to push the
No,
ancients in the air?
I just pulled them.
Just pulled it. Okay.
That was a fun strat, though. I liked that. So, just to spend a little bit of time on the wider patch, then, how are you guys enjoying the patch? Does it feel that different? And what are your thoughts on it? Because we played quite a few games. How does it feel? Do you think it's still up in the air, or patterns emerging, or does it just feel the same as 7.7?
I think it's remarkably the same, but now there's no Sven, which is nice and refreshing. And then I think it's fun that there are new items, like your Falcon Blades and your Orb of Corrosion. You've got items all the way through the game that are new and different, it is kind of exciting. Neutrals as well. And then your super late game items. It's added a bit of spice in the shards, obviously it's a massive one. So the games all feel the same, and I think we all agreed that the meta and the games we were having were always good. They weren't swingy or stompy, or it felt like in a good balance. So happy to continue that, and then just have these different bells and whistles added. Just kind of fun to play around with. I can't really remember anyone that I've specifically gone, oh, I need to get the shard for. But it does feel like there are more agonyms which are legit now, e.g. Axe, e.g. Terrorblade or something. Seems like Ags are more off common, which is fun.
Yeah, I think so. I think Sven's gone and been replaced by Wraith King a bit. That's the biggest hero change, I would say. There's a lot of Leo around. But beyond that, the sort of pace of the game and what you want to do in the game with your heroes, like the areas of the map that you want to control, what the ideal game looks like, what the pace of the game looks like, what the laning looks like, is all by and large the same. And we talked about this last week about how the general changes are perhaps yet to come in the new year, but for the most part, I'd say I'm a bit disappointed. I mean, enough's changed. It's not like I don't want to play Dota or anything, but not too much has changed.
There'll be map changes.
Yeah, I think so.
Coming eventually.
I mean, new hero as well was cool and fun. Yes, disappointment that it's not a hard pos 1, but it is kind of fun to play.
It is not that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the gist is that pos 4, like we've kind of realised actually we don't need to put gold on this hero. Yeah, it can do that pos 3 in the trees, push a lane, but actually do that as a position 4 and just get a couple basic items. Your spells are so good. I don't know, it seems like I see a lot of support Winky now rather than core Winky.
Yeah. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, Adam. I've only played it twice and I've lost both games, both from the mid. But do you think people have sort of looked at the hero's kit and thought, well, this Bushwhack ability and Scurry are the strongest parts of the kit, and actually the Q scaling with your right click is all well and good, but the rest of the hero doesn't complement a carry very well, very squishy and lacking any right click ability, just a Q. Do you think that's what's caused it to go pos 4? I don't know what your thoughts are, having played the hero many times.
I just think the W is so strong on this disruption capabilities. You just need 1 point in Acorn to make the tree. I don't get, I definitely maxed the W, but I think I probably would put at least a value point in Scurry now. I haven't been doing that, but she doesn't need gold to be really good. She's like a big damage dealer at level 6 because of your combo. And it's kind of like you just have this insane vacuum shackle. And if you're so focused on shoving waves, you're never really getting in position to get off this sick Bushwhack. I like her as a team fighter, initiator, disruptor type of thing, as opposed to a wave clear. She's not a carry because she doesn't right click. I think we talked about that last week. Feels bad having a lot of gold because you shove waves really fast, and then until level 25 with like the multiple charges on the acorn shot, like you're not a big damage dealer. You're not like a classical right clicker that just sits and peps, because if you get gone on, you explode. So that's why I like, coming out of the trees all of a sudden, and you just shackle someone, and then you follow it up with the sharpshooter. I always want to call that something else, but it's like a really nice little combo where you just throw out the acorn shot and the bushwhack at the same time. It's like a pretty chunky amount of damage, and then you do residually farm, so you can go into the aura stuff. Like I liked Greaves on her. New Vlad seems pretty good, like a pretty value thing to sit on her, because you are kind of like scurrying around. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think you want to farm up a Gleipnir on her.
No, I think it's certainly having more success in that 4 role than the mid role, that's for sure. The stats that I've seen. Let's then move to our year in review. This is the last New Meta Pod of 2020. But before we do, I just want to mention one thing that I need, one New Year's resolution for Dota. If there's any devs listening, I need some kind of mute detection. Every single week that I play Dota, I have to mute my mic for some reason. There's noise in my room, there's people, or there's, whatever, for whatever reason, or I'm drinking, eating food, and I don't want to have the people in my Discord hearing me chomp on peanuts, like in the laning stage or something. And without fail, I always forget to unmute myself. Sometimes I didn't today, but in the top couple of times before I've even typed, remind me to unmute myself in 5 minutes, because I will just forget. And we played a game today where I was TB, and I basically was talking to myself for 20 minutes, which is so sad, especially because it's really important. Obviously, if you're POS 1, it's really important to be able to communicate, just at least of which just to tell people what you're thinking during the game and what you're going to try and do. And I came out of that game so sort of, I don't know, maybe tilted's too strong, but during the game I was tilted because I didn't understand that I was muted, because my brain didn't realize. So I was like, oh my goodness, everyone's completely ignoring and not even engaging with what I'm saying.
It is tilted.
Everyone's ignoring.
Yeah. There's double whammy of ignoring you and then doing just completely opposite to what you say, or just completely, it's like the most disrespectful thing to your mind, but obviously no one else knows you're saying anything.
Yeah.
I think TeamSpeak had a feature where if you were muted, it would play a sound periodically, which would be a reminder.
The problem with mine is as well is I've got a mute button on my mic, so I'm not even muted in Discord. So if you look in Discord, it won't have a mute button next to me. I just turn on. I've got a button that turns off my mic. That's
extra bad value, because I have 2 screens, and on the second one, Discord's open, and I can see our chat. So I wouldn't have seen you muted. No.
Yeah, it's rough. Oh, that was a frustrating one though. So that's one of my New Year's resolution is to do mic checks during the game. So I'm going to be tilting everyone, going, "Can you guys hear me?" Like 30 minutes into a game, yes, we can. I've been able to hear you for the last 10 minutes. I was like, okay, great.
Yeah, you being silent for 20 minutes negatively impacted my game, because I thought Stan's completely emo, giving up. He's not speaking. All right, whatever. Who gives a shit about this game?
Yeah.
But actually, Stan was on the other side, probably sweating and shouting loads of Dota talk. I had no idea.
I just feel like he's in serious mode. Like, both of you do it. So I just figure, it's serious mode. And then it's like, inevitably, 20 minutes into the game, someone will be like, "You're probably muted." And then it's like, "Oh, man. Not again."
I do it sometimes I do it sometimes, I suppose. But more often than not these days, I've just forgotten that I'm muted, honestly. That's more likely. Let's go to this Dota buff last 12 months, the year in review. We said that this was some good content. Marco, what have you learned from looking at your last 12 months?
I'm gonna trivia to you guys. Who's the number one hero?
For
Ricky.
you,
Yeah.
Ricky.
What do you think, Adam?
I'll say. I was going to say Mars.
That was probably 2019. Yeah, that was probably 2019. Stan's bang on. The year has been the year of Ricky, GOAT, animal GOAT, as opposed to greatest of all time. But some have called my Ricky a GOAT. Moving on, 6.7, 6 KDA, just slapping.
Wow, that is high.
Very, very strong. And then...
What's the win rate?
75%.
Wow.
Yeah.
The biggest story is 36.
Okay.
So, 27-9, I mean, could be better, but good. The bigger story, though, is hero number 2, because this is asking for a diss track or something like that. Who do you think the number 2 is, Stan? Apparently, according to you, I have no specialism in this hero, and no interest, and no playtime.
On this hero, and this is your second most.
And Stan gives me no credibility for this hero.
Ooh, interesting. Oh, I give you no credibility. There's too many heroes to choose from.
It was kind of a one-off comment, but it stuck to me quite severely.
Is it? Can you give me a position?
Mid? Or
is it
one?
Or is it Ember?
Ember's joint third, and there's 2 less. But it's just very close vibe.
Do you play Void Spirit?
It's Void Spirit.
Oh, wow.
The hero that I go, oh yeah, I've played quite a bit of Void Spirit, and Stan comes in and he's like,
No, you haven't.
No, you haven't. You don't know Void Spirit.
Wow.
Second most played. 69% win rate. Come on, bro.
Wow, that's higher than me. I mean, I'll get to mine, but I have a just below you on Void Spirit. Adam, I don't know if you're flying with some nuggets from your last year. What's your 2020 looked like in Dota?
Should we try and guess Adam's highest match?
Guess my most played. You have 2 choices, basically.
Is it CM?
CM's quite the ranked gamer for Adam.
Yeah.
His rank's been not
CM
crazy.
is 4th.
I think
CM is 4th, 28 matches, 64% win rate.
Very strong.
Did you go on a spam? Am I forgetting some spam spree at some point?
I mean, I said it's between 1 and 2 heroes.
I think Ench.
That's a good shout.
It's number 2.
Oh.
42 matches played. But I feel like I only talk about 2 heroes on this podcast.
Surely you've not played much Lich in 2020, because...
59 matches with Lich.
Really? Wow.
Far and away. Yeah, it's number 1.
Wow.
You do always
So
talk about
17 over second. And 57% win rate, or 58%. So, not bad. That was my ranked grinder, I guess.
Yeah.
But the number 3 was very surprising.
Is it off position?
No, I played it as a support. 29 matches, 65% win rate. This was big early in the year.
Is it Viper?
Viper's a little further down.
Because I know you were on
but
a
it is
5
kind of
Viper
the
spree
same
for a
thing.
while.
It's kind of the same thing. There was this 5 Viper, but then there was a 5 hero that was OP, and then they changed some spells, and it was not as good anymore. And Crit played it a lot.
5 Clinks?
Yeah. The Clinkertons. Wow. 29 matches on Clinks, 66% win rate.
That's a blast. 66, wow, that's strong. That's a blast from the past.
Yeah.
The Viper 5 and also the Clinks 5. Man, I wonder if the listeners remember the Viper 5. That was so gross. That was really disgusting when that was a thing.
Yeah.
Man.
But my top 10 are Lich, Enchantress, Clinks, Crystal Maiden, Jakiro, Mars, Snapfire, Doom.
Jakiro?
And then
Vengeful
Spirit, Slardar. That's the top 10.
Yeah.
Interesting. Some of my tops are quite funny and quite interesting. No prizes for guessing my number 1.
Your tops are so snoozy because they're going to be so easy to guess.
Is it Lena or is it TA?
Lena is 1. Yeah.
Lena
is
1.
62 games.
Pugna 2.
Yeah.
Wow, you got Pugna 2. That is surprising. I didn't think you'd get Pugna 2.
You play Pugna quite a bit. I was going to say
quite on.
I do like
I've done a
Pugna.
lot of Pugna.
What were you going to say, Adam? OD?
Yeah.
OD's 3, which is funny because...
What is he now? Out what? Destroyer?
Outworld Destroyer.
Outworld
Outside
Destroyer.
Digger.
I've actually never
Yeah.
played Outworld Destroyer. I've only played Outworld Devourer. But I haven't played him for over a month, which is quite interesting. And then my number 4 is the last one. It's actually interesting. My number 4 and 5 are joint.
Viper
So,
Necro.
is that my number 4, 5, and 6 are joint? Wow. 4, 5, and 6 are all joint.
Viper Necro.
No Necro.
There's no
Viper
Meepo?
is one of them.
There's no Meepo?
No, Meepo's not there, no. I haven't played much Meepo this year.
Surely Meepo's top 10.
He is top 10, yeah, he's top 10. 21 games. Only 21 games of Meepo the whole year. So Void Spirit TA, Viper, all join. And this is what I want to... This is what I feel like I need to throw out for respect reasons. TA win rate last 12 months. 58.5.
Nice.
So 58.5% win rate on my famously attacked TA. I will say, quite distressingly though, the only hero in my top 10 that... I actually have a hero in my top 10 with a negative win rate. So my top 10 is Faceless Void. This is in ascending order from 10. Faceless Void, Ember Spirit, Necro, Meepo, Viper, Void Spirit, TA, OD, Pugna, Lina. One of them's got a 47% win rate, which is very sad. And it's actually the hero that I think you guys might think one of my better heroes. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Oh, I was going to guess
Is it-
Faceless Void, so no. It's not that.
Well, Faceless
Yeah.
Void's my highest win rate in my top 10.
Wow.
Faceless Void's 75%.
It's crazy once you get Chronosphere on the actual hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's from my early experiences of using Chrono. I'm now so scarred from chronoing Adam on Rubik that I only take the best chronos. I see everything in slow motion because I'm so scarred. But it's actually OD. My OD win rate, 47%. Very bad. Yeah, but there you are. Just
like
missing
that hero.
out. Just missing out on the top 10. My 11th most played hero is the Tinker. My 11th most played hero is the Stinker.
And that doesn't include bot turbo games.
Does not include bot turbo games. Only 11 Tinker games, so not that many. And I will say, as I point out time and time again, my Tinker is better than my Kunker. My Tinker win rate is higher than my Kunker win rate, so that's all you need to know. Mark always is like, oh, just pick Kunker, like pick solid Kunker. My Kunker's terrible. My Kunker is 37.5% win rate. So
Yikes.
don't Google the Magic T Kunker. Definitely don't do that. Underlord, 80% win rate.
Classic.
Classic Pitlord. Just honestly, if I picked Pitlord every game, I'd be at TI.
Teaching mind control a thing or two about
I know, my
Pitlord.
Underlord can't lose.
Talking about win rate shoutouts, is this a Pudge I see? Is this a Pudge with a 61.5% win rate?
Wow.
I think it is. Haters.
On who?
65.
The
On
Pudger
Marco?
Fudger.
That's
Yeah,
interesting because my Pudge win rate is 100%. So not quite as good as me. I'm 2-0 in the last 12 months on Pudge. So
That's
I literally can't lose on Pudge.
The big surprise for me was I'm 8-0 on Naga Siren this year.
Wow.
So why didn't I just play Naga every game? Like, I played a lot of TB. I should have just played more Naga.
Yeah. Interesting you mentioned carries, because looking at my heroes here, my carries have such high win rates. I wonder if that's because, relatively, I wonder if that's because I play carry in unranked more and we have a higher unranked win rate, but my Faceless Void win rate's really good, 75%, Naga 70%, fine. Slark, 55%, whatever. Troll Warlords is 77%. And then, I suppose Sven, 71%, Spectre, 72%. So it's interesting. My Drow Ranger, 65%. My Lifestealer win rate's really bad, though, 42%. It's interesting. I wonder if there's anything to be drawn from that. Maybe it's just literally the fact that it's unranked.
I think that is, partly true.
I did proclaim that my spirit was that of a carry player after watching the Jenkins video about what personality you are. My brain's a carry player.
scrolling down to my first 100% win rate of the year, it's of no surprise to anybody to see a 4-0 axe.
Wow.
Axe carry.
Axe carry in the mix. It's
Very
the
good.
only hero you need. I got a surprisingly large amount of unplayed heroes, I feel.
Yeah,
I wonder who else
11
the most.
unplayed.
God, is that it?
That seems like a lot for me. But I
Well,
guess,
yeah. That does. It's. I'm ashamed.
here-
I've got 36.
Oh, okay. Here's my list of unplayed. Brewmaster, unsurprising, just like Stan.
No,
but
I've played it.
I've played all of them and won on all of them except for Void Spirit.
Right.
But this is unplayed this year.
Yeah.
Brewmaster, Dark Willow, Earth Spirit, Husker, Invoker, Lone Druid, Outworld Destroyer, Pangolier, Timbersaw, Tinker, and Troll Warlord.
Wow. Interesting. You've
Yeah.
won a game on Visage and Techies. Well, Techies, no surprise, but
No,
Visage.
I've played a game on Visage.
I see, yeah.
I did not win. I've only played one Void Spirit game this year.
I'm surprised I haven't played Dazzle. I used to love a Dazzle back in the day, but now, no Dazzle in the last 12 months. That is sad to see.
That is sad to see.
I've got 25 heroes that I haven't played, but there you are.
In that pool of unplayed is Omni Knight, and I need to do a pos one Omni Knight.
With the holy hammer bop shard.
Hammer Bopper.
Oh, yeah. What is it? Hammer of Purity or something?
I went 8-2 on Treant Protector. I should play that hero more.
Yeah, your tree's pretty scary. Scary tree.
It's so fun. It's like exactly the type of thing I want to do. I want to pop out of a tree and bop someone and run away, and then they're trying to kill my carry on the other side of the map, and this armor comes out of nowhere. Like, that's exactly what I want to do. I don't want to hit the creeps. I want to bop some people and then make them sad when they go on someone.
Let's move on then to myths and truths in Dota 2. We were inspired a little bit by a post that had a lot of upvotes on Reddit that had a list of sort of, I guess, Dota thoughts, Dota truisms that we thought in light of its popularity maybe good to dive into some, explore them a bit more, discuss whether or not they are indeed true and how much value they have. Marco, do you want to kick us off here? Because I know that there was one that stood out to you a bit more, or indeed you're the one that came up with this idea. So
This list was written by a stoned 8K player, so obviously someone very competent
Shaggy
in the game.
Dota.
Shaggy Dota.
Hi,
A lot of
Shaggy.
good points made. Some a bit vaguer or long-winded, but there is one that stood out to me the most. Just trying to think if. So it starts off number 22. If anyone's interested, Dota's it's not a game which can always be played reactively. You'll not improve by simply reacting to stuff. Gives a couple examples. It says
Marco's mic stopped recording here for some reason, so I'm going to repeat what he said. The next part of the point was the biggest difference between good and bad players in the game is that good players create opportunities, bad players react to opportunities.
one with a statement on Reddit.
I didn't even want to include this one because I knew that you'd just you'd like love it so much because it's like a ticket to aggro play.
Well, no, but that's true. But it comes from a place of a good player will create opportunities and bad players don't, and it is so true. It's so true that when someone's snowballing or stomping or a team's playing well or they're winning Dota or playing Dota, then they're not well. There are games where you can throw and the enemy wins, and we've had these discussions in our how have games been where we go, yeah, we lost games because we did bad stuff and the enemy team didn't have to do anything. The enemy team didn't have to play Dota because we just did so poorly. But the majority of games, if not the vast majority of games, the better team, the one who plays better and creates opportunities, is the one that's going to win. And it definitely then feeds into my aggro gameplay, but someone sees it aggressive, I see it more as tempo. And not even tempo in a kind of negative or there's a trade-off way, but simply you've got to be doing stuff. Creating opportunities equals playing fast, and you can't just react to something the enemy team is going to do in order to win, because if you're against a team which is half okay and you just give them infinite space and you're behind already, well, pretty likely they're gonna go on and win. There are games, yes, where the optimal strategy is, all right, we need to turtle, or we need to hit a timing that's the late game, and let's hold the high ground and let's let the enemy team make a mistake. But in a lot more closer games in this mid-game period,
even then you're creating opportunities that let you do that by slowing the game down. You find you create an opportunity that's going to let you cut a wave, or you create an opportunity that's going to let you draw heroes to the other side of the map, which slows down you know what I mean? It's not even then.
And I do think just to kill this point even more, I do think when we play games and the enemy team's a lot better player for player and we're losing the game, I feel like the biggest point I notice is the enemy team's playing the game too fast for us, because they're all just better players, and we're trying to react to stuff, but things are just happening so fast that we can't even react to stuff, and we can't even make plays, because by the time we've kind of thought about what to do or move somewhere to go, the enemy team's kind of done 2 steps already and has been more proactive and has created their own opportunities with their own quote aggressive / tempo movements, and you then just get steamrolled. And then I've been really frustrated in games when we're not playing proactively enough and we're not creating these opportunities, like let's go to a side lane to get a gank, or let's make a play, or we're behind, but if we do something quote aggressive, maybe that'll give an opportunity to come back. In the last game we played, when you flamed me for going in after getting the Rosh, you could see that as me being too aggressive, and you saying, oh, we just need to chill, take a step back, we just got the Rosh. But in my mind, I'm like, no, we're 5 heroes with an Aegis, the enemy team's not prepared, they're not turtled and grouped and ready. If we're playing fast, we can create the opportunity where we pick off a hero, then pick off another hero, and start snowballing the other way. And I felt like that was necessary, because if we step back, took our foot off the pedal, we're like 20k XP behind, gold behind. We can't just go 5v5. We've got to make these opportunities and these pickoffs and play fast and tempo. And this message rung out to me big time. I'll leave it there.
Adam, do you have any thoughts on this?
No. I think I generally agree with it. What's that old saying that's always in the... like, it's a big old sports colloquialism or like a meme where it's just like, you got to dictate the pace of the play. We're playing their game. We got to play our own game. That's what the coach is always saying. That's what this is. And I agree with that. You got to make the opportunities. You got to play your own game, and you can't just sit back and be like, I guess we'll just wait for them to come to us all the time. And I do like his example of having an opportunistic ward that scouts a low-health Tinker in the jungle. Like, it doesn't have to be, oh, I'm a support CM, I'm just going to run at them and like initiate with a Crystal Nova and try and make something happen. It's just preparing for opportunities to present themselves and striking.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that, and this sort of brings us on nicely to say, I suppose my only criticism of this point is that I think it's really good for learning how to be better. So when he says you will not improve by simply reacting to opportunities, I completely agree with that. One of the best ways to get better is to try things, obviously, try new things, see what works, see what doesn't. That's how you get better. You know, trial and error is a large portion of how to get better. I would say, though, that when he says that good players create opportunities, bad players react to opportunities, I don't think that's necessarily true. I think good players create good opportunities, and bad players can often create really bad opportunities. I don't think... Maybe you could say that good players are more likely to play proactively. That might be true, but there are plenty of terrible players that play really proactively. They're just terrible at playing proactively. You can be very bad at creating opportunities, and that's why you lose. You know, you can be very... create lots of bad opportunities, or you can be a bad player because you never try and create an opportunity, you play reactively all the time. That's also bad. So I think it's more on the learning front. You're never going to learn if you're just, playing very reactively the whole time. And I suppose my point, maybe to go against my own point, maybe it doesn't work particularly well, because even if you're trying to create opportunities and failing a lot because you're a bad player, making bad opportunities a lot of the time, thinking, oh god, I really need to, let's try and be proactive, let's try and do something, and then just failing and like dying loads, that's bad. At least then you're putting yourself in a position where you might improve, because next time you're in that situation, you're more likely to make a slightly better proactive move or to create a slightly better opportunity.
Yeah.
But understanding what opportunities look like what Adam was saying, there's a difference between running into a hasted, being a CM trying to run in and initiate with Crystal Nova versus placing a ward that's going to catch a Tinker. They're two examples of trying to create an opportunity, but the difference is the better player creates a better opportunity. So that's maybe something just to tack on to that point. Obviously, the bones of it, though, I agree with.
I know exactly the idea you're touching on, in that a bad player can create a bad opportunity. And a great example is forcing a smoke. And we've lost games by it before, where it's like mid-game, oh, let's smoke 3-man into the enemy woods. And you could perceive that as being, I'm creating an opportunity by this play and being proactive with this smoke play running into the enemy woods. But then in reality, it is actually a terrible play, and you've just run into the enemy's trap and it goes terrible. You could argue that, have you created an opportunity? It is proactive. That's the point. Is it a bad opportunity? Yeah. Is it even an opportunity? To me, I kind of see that as you shouldn't have smoked. You didn't create the conditions to allow you to do a smoke play like this, because the lanes were in a crap place and the wards were in a crap place and it was daytime and things like this.
Here's a really easy example of that in the game that we played earlier today. An example that I was talking about at the time, but you didn't hear me because I'd muted myself.
Yeah.
So there's a point where there's a Medusa farming R triangle with Dire. There's a Medusa farming R triangle, and the rest of the Medusa's team, 4 heroes, are pushing top wave. So they're far away from Medusa. This Medusa's the raid boss in the game, very farmed, really hard to kill. And our Mars, and maybe another hero say, sees in their mind an opportunity. This Medusa's separated from their team. This is an opportunity for us to kill Medusa quickly. That's great. In my mind, from obviously I'm not like some good player, certainly not, but in just to give myself the benefit of the doubt here, I sort of saw exactly what was going to happen before it happened, in the sense that we're going to go on Medusa. She's going to press Stone Gaze. If we either back and die trying to back away from a Medusa with Skadi and a haste with the new Stone Gaze, or we try and fight through Stone Gaze, the rest of the team arrives easily the rest of the team arrives in time, and we die. And so the bad, in this isolated instance, because many of the players in this game are way better than me, in Dota in general, but in this isolated incident, the bad players, so to speak, saw an opportunity, but in reality, it's not an opportunity. It's like you were saying with the smoke, So maybe another thing to tack on is that good players know what an opportunity is.
Yes. I think your example, you could flip it as well and say us going to the Medusa was reactive, rather than making a play, we were reacting, there's a Medusa there, let's go kill her. You could also say, and I think more pertinently, the Medusa created a good opportunity. If the Medusa was not in our ancient triangle, then this play where her team connects for a team fight that they know they're going to win can't happen. So the Medusa, by farming that aggressively and being in that position, she knows she's safe to do that. She knows she's taking our farm. She knows that if enemies appear, correctly or wrongly, she knows her team can connect and they can get a little fight that they're going to win. So you could also view it in that way, as that the Medusa created an opportunity with her movement. And that often is what it's going to be, your movement where you are on the map.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, flipping it to the enemy's perspective. Let's go over another one of these, though, and I'm going to read it and then go for thoughts straight away, maybe, in case I've come in with any preconceived ideas. One that I had today, again, you can tell I've been thinking about the fact I was muted in my game earlier. So this is general thoughts on shot calling and general thoughts on who should be shot calling. So past the early game, which I know is in of itself a topic of conversation for us, which has been marked as 10 to 15 minutes. think more about team timings, less about your individual timing. At this point, no matter how strong you are as a core individually, you need to consider your strengths as a team at all times. And then typically the position one starts making the calls around this point as they start hitting their timings, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what you think about this point, Adam, like your own timings versus the team's timings. And also, do you think the POS one should be the hero that's making calls past, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and the rest of the team listen? Or do you think that better players in the game that might be on a 4 or a 3 should sort of have the reins of the team and be making the calls?
At my level, I'm just happy if somebody makes calls. I don't care who it is, because ranked solo Dota, if it's not flame typing at one another, it's just quiet. So I usually am a quiet player, so I'll just do what somebody wants. Basically, if they're like, let's do this, like, yeah, get behind it. I don't know. I mean, this is in Pro Dota, like the 5 usually is the captain that calls the shots, but it's always with the input of the 1, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Always like, I'm strong now. It's like, okay, let's go. Type of thing. I think that's usually what the 1 says, is just whether or not I can come to that, or I can't come to that. I'm 2 minutes off of this item and then I'm strong. It's like that type of a thing. As opposed to the 1 being like, you two go over there and do this. They have to farm.
Yeah.
I think
really
the 1...
funny, because you think like farming shouldn't take your entire brain's effort, but it does for whatever reason.
I think the 1 will start. So the post says after 10 to 15. I think it's more 20, if not 20 onwards, that I think the 1 would start having concrete calls and involvement. I think there are 2 scenarios. One where it's 4 of your team and the core is separate farm. The POS 1 is separate and farming elsewhere. And so the 4-man team will make plays and movements. And I think in that 4-man band, any of them could make calls. And then I think 20 minutes on, when the POS 1 is farmed and ready to engage, that then it would be mainly the 1 that should dictate, and not the 1 as in the person per se, but what the position 1 hero is and wants and needs to do should dictate the most what the team then does, I do think. And I'd say that not just from a greedy POS 1 perspective, but from an optimal perspective of, this is where your damage, this is where your gold and XP and your investment is on that hero. So if you're trying to make a play on one side of the map that your POS 1 isn't, and you're at 20 minutes in the game when your POS 1 has like 40% of your team's net worth, what is going through your mind? Just naturally, you need to be making plays with the POS 1. So then naturally, I think the POS 1 is going to lead those plays. Is it objective? Is it this area? Is it this lane or that lane? Top or bot? Is it Rosh? I think naturally they are going to dictate it if you want to play optimally. They don't have to be the one that makes the call, like Adam says. The captain usually does, and I think that's, again, optimal. They've got, as a support, I do think actually a lot of brain power goes into your warding and your items, and to think about where you want to be on the map. As we said, POS 5, all about where your hero's positioned. So there's a lot of thinking that goes into it, but you do have a bit more capacity to understand the macro game and let the POS 1 just farm. So I think the 5 can dictate what the team needs to do, but it then has to be spearheaded by the 1, and there has to be that team synergy.
Yeah, all I mean is that you would think the 1 would have more downtime to think about these things, because all they're really doing is hitting creeps and like rotating through places. But it's like every time I play a 1, my brain turns off. Like I just can't think about anything else other than hitting the creeps, going over here, hitting the creeps, and then like looking around the map, looking at my items. It's like I can't even think about what everyone else is doing. It's like I need to hit creep.
I think there's 2 levels. I think the 1 who's a good 1 will hit the creeps, but will also think and know where they want to be or need to be, and where the team needs to play or wants to play. So just taking into consideration all these macro farming aspects, map control aspects, objective aspects. I think the 1 will dictate that. I then think someone like a 5 will have a higher level view or input on let's say, the item choices or the fight execution or like warding considerations or vision considerations, perhaps more. And so, yeah, everything's not just coming from one person. I do think there's a bit of a difference between what the 1 provides to the team play and what the 5 provides to the team play, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the rest of the point is about how you need to be thinking about the team's strength rather than just your own strength. So that fits into our idea of the POS 1 saying, I'm strong, or this is what I feel about what my hero can do. And yeah, that needs to be factored into the rest of the team the longer the game goes on, which is funny because the longer the game goes on, the more strength the POS 1's going to have over the rest of the heroes as the net worth difference, spreads out and all that. So it's quite interesting, and you see it played out in pro teams. I know the first that it really stood out was how in the old VP, Solo was the captain and would make calls, but Ramses, as the game went on, Ramses, as a POS 1 at the time, would talk more and more. And I think you saw that in some true sites like the Kiev one and stuff like that. Ramses drives the team forward in the later stages. And also from the OG true sites, Anna's maybe like the quietest player ever, just doesn't say anything other than maybe Arme. But the rest of the team, the louder players, Seven, Jarex and Notel, will almost always defer to him and say, Jarex will say, do you want me to reload you out when this happens? Or Seb would say, Anna, can we fight this? Do you know what I mean? And so the POS 1, the longer the game goes on, has to be the focus. Like you said, Marco, you've got so much net worth on this one hero. It'd be crazy not for that hero to be the first consideration on strategy and tactics as the game goes on.
As you get better as well, say you go into this pro scene level, the team understands better exactly what they need to do. And so I feel like we can think about these pub scenarios where there's team talk and captaining and team play strategy going on. A lot of that is not needed when you're at the pro scene because everyone's playing optimally in their position. And so that minimizes what there is to strategize about. And then it whittles down to more kind of micro, Anna, are we doing this? Are we doing that? Yes, no binary decisions, as opposed to, say, needing to tell your team, let's play in this area or let's play in that area. When the players are so good, those kind of calls and movements and strategy doesn't really need to be done. Like if you watch the OG, they're not talking about what they need to do. It's like you say, it's all about the binary decision making, in like split second decision making that then Anna will dictate. Yeah,
definitely. That would be a funny true site if it would just be like, oh, this Medusa's farming our triangle. Can we do we think can someone come up here with me so I can ward and the pub true site? That would be good. Get five random pubbers, invite them to Seattle to play a pub, and then do a true site of it. That would be good to see.
Oh my god. Imagine the contrast of a pub true site and the carnage that's going on. Yeah. 4 people wanting to do one strategy versus true site where it's 2 words a minute. Yes, no, go, don't go.
Yeah, that would be super funny. Talking about objectives and creating opportunities, this one is along the same lines. So the 2 reliable ways to force fights are by forcing objectives or by having initiation. The thing about forcing objectives is that if both teams have 5 heroes alive, unless one is way stronger, the weaker team will still be able to defend, because it is based around an enemy objective, so they have a natural advantage. In every single game, initiation means something different, blah, 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 blah. So it's just saying, initiation against a puck looks like an instant disable, but an initiation against an AM might mean something like a root or something like that. So, if the enemy doesn't feed too much, they can split push the map and cut ways indefinitely, since death ball lineups are very slow and lack disables. So yeah. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I feel like this one's very relevant to pub Dota. It's at least in my mind, it's not that much to argue against. It makes intuitive sense, but you certainly see in pub games a lot, people brainlessly lining up and positioning themselves.
You like the 5v5 middle, River?
Yeah, the 5v5 middle, but also more so forcing an objective where you're basically handing the enemies the best possible fight scenario. Maybe that's still a winning fight for you. That is possible, like he says here. If you're way stronger, then maybe the best possible fight 5v5 for your opponents, you're still going to win. But I think in the pub setting, people don't realise that it's not as simple as, oh, we're a little bit stronger than them. We've just won the last team fight. You know, we just won a team fight. In our brains, we're stronger than them. So we don't need to add any context to that. And we can just push a tower. And then that, you know, creates the swing back and forth that you see so often in pubs where you win a team fight, you push, you lose a team fight, they push, you win, you push. You know what I mean? That back and forth you see, especially in the late game. So I think this was worth including because I see a lot of teams set up with 5 heroes to push an objective, expecting it to be a sort of even fight, even though they're showing 3, maybe more heroes under a tower, and the enemies have infinite time to react and take the perfect fight.
Especially if you're all showing and you just waddle up to the tower, it's like, okay.
You can pick off a lone hero that's trying to defend it. That is a play that happens all the time, typically when you're got a slight advantage. It happens all the time that you can force that safe lane tier 2 and get it, or better, the enemy might make a mistake and have someone try and defend it, or someone TPs in and you just pounce on them. That's a classic case in my mind. It's definitely infinitely better than walking middle tier 2 and having no sight on the enemy and having no vision or having no numbers advantage and letting them initiate on you from the perfect angle. That happens far too often.
Yeah, definitely. And if you think about your Dota games, when do the majority of towers fall? Maybe take away the tier 1s because they're very weak and they're very easy to kill. Sometimes it's hard to defend them. But when do the majority of towers fall? It's when there's a hero dead on one of the teams. And there's a reason for that, is because towers are a big advantage, both in terms of vision and in terms of the buffs that you get, TPs being able to be made. So the vast majority of towers are taken when you've already won a team fight, when you've already won a skirmish. And then you get the opportunities that Marco was talking about. And so next time you 5-man a tower, you might want to think twice, because it's easy. It's very easy for the enemy team to defend unless they are way far behind for whatever reason.
I think you make a good example, though, where you may have a numbers advantage because you've just got 2 kills. And so you think, oh, yeah, I can now take that tower objective, and kind of don't process the fact that those 2 dead enemies will respawn in 20, 30 seconds. And then you now find yourself firmly sat mid-tier 2, no vision, no terrain advantage, and it's 5v5. And if you were to present that situation to someone, surely anyone will say that's a terrible situation to be in, but people put themselves in it so often because, like you say, they get a fight and the riding are high or something. But yeah, that's not going to work.
There was one thought. Wait, actually, let me check this time. I'll do one more quick one. There was one thought that I'm not sure if I've written it down here. I might have not written it down here, but the general gist of it is how if you're playing 2 lanes and you try and play the 3rd lane, you're effectively resetting the map. And I think an example from my mind to flesh this out is you see it very often where you might be Radiant pushing your top lane into the enemy tier 2 or into the enemy high ground, and one hero TPs to the bot lane or indeed just walks to the bot lane to de-push, to kill creeps. You've effectively reset the game because you're no longer providing 5-man pressure on the top lane or indeed the middle lane, and you can pretty much push 2 lanes in without, sacrificing your team being grouped up and therefore sacrifice your strength in a certain area of the map. But when you try and play that 3rd lane, then you're resetting the map. I thought that was an interesting point. I don't really have much to say on it. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on it, but I thought that was an interesting one because you do see that quite a lot. And I suppose it comes back to the points that we've covered many times on the podcast about the importance of having lanes in a good position, or at least having one lane in a good position and then pushing the other two all the way around.
It sounds like it's touching on the vision aspect of lanes, because if you've got heroes showing in 3 lanes, that's so much information to the enemy to make a play. Is this the vibe of what it's saying about playing in 2 lanes rather than 3? Or at least that's what it sounds like to me. That if you're in 3 lanes, you know where the enemy team is completely, so you can make a play or punish one of the 2 lanes. You can punish any lane if you've got that much information. So therefore, you have to reset and have to kind of, because you're too split and stretched.
Yeah, so I think that the point that's being made, it's almost a higher level, a higher order version of saying, if you push lanes, that has to be answered. And therefore, if you're answering lanes, you're not doing something else. Therefore, the map's reset. So I think the point is that if you're playing the enemy jungle and you've got the enemies cooped up in their own base, you can pretty much control the mid lane and the top lane, if this is from Radiant's perspective. You can pretty much control those 2 lanes, control the enemy jungle, keep them in their base. But as soon as one of your heroes goes to the bottom lane, you no longer have 5 heroes in their jungle. You no longer are penning them in, and therefore they're able to come out as 5 heroes, and you're going to have to back. You're going to have to reset the map, or you're going to take a 5v4. So I think that's kind of the point. And then to flip it on its head, he says this may be good if your team fought and now has no cooldowns as the enemy team is forced to reset the map. So that could be a point of almost like what we said, where the same situation goes, but now rather than staying top, staying in that area, which we were in because we won a fight and we're 5v3, the enemy's reset, so now we want to play that 3rd lane, we want to reset the map, and then the enemies are forced to effectively walk back into their own jungle to retake it, which might seem bad for us, but actually that's good for us. We'd rather do that than try and keep in the same game state where we hold their jungle, because now we have cooldowns. So I think it's just the gist of the idea is basically that you can't play all lanes at the same time. You can pretty much play 2, and that's kind of okay. But if you're trying to play all 3, you're going to be spread too thin. I think that's sort of what it's playing at.
But then also your point about cooldowns, ultimately you don't want to play 2 lanes because you may not have cooldowns, and so that's then your time to play the 3 lanes, push them out, get the farm that those lanes will have accumulated whilst you weren't in them.
Yeah.
And via that reset, you're just going to snowball because you'll be mopping up the map. So in a way, you want to reset often to snowball your advantage.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Adam? Is this all hyperbole? Can this all be surmised as push lanes win games?
That's Dota in a nutshell.
We need one nugget of wisdom from a sober 6K player. That's what we need to follow up. Push lanes win games. Pudge hooks win games. I'd like to do my own nuggets of wisdom.
Are we 6K? Do we have a 6K?
Used to.
You tell me.
Kappa.
Used to before.
Yeah, where are you at now? Are you below me after this tank? I need to just win like 1 or 2 games.
5-9s. So I don't know exactly, but I don't have a 6 anymore.
You'll get it back.
You're both over 1,000 ahead of me, so I'm 4,650. So there you go. So it was about road to 5K, Pog.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah,
I believe.
Pick Underlords, honestly. I say it time and time again, but I never learn that if I actually want to climb, it's just Underlord. It is boring. Pick TA. That's what we've learned after reviewing my last 12 months.
Equally boring.
TA's fun. Are you telling me it's not fun to blink meld with refraction on a support and kill them in 1 or 2 shots? That's fun.
I don't know. The last time I played it with you, you got Deso and didn't finish BKB, and we just lost.
Oh no! Oh no!
There was no blink to be had either.
That only happens 42% of the time, so that's all right.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on any nuggets of wisdom, or indeed on anything? Any end of year messages?
Hit creep, use spells. Look at the minimap.
Yeah.
Don't play in the mid lane.
Test out items. Test out the new items. Tell me if Falcon Blade is good or not, because it seems to be a very controversial item.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I haven't built it. I don't think I've built it yet. I need to get on that, and I'll be able to report back to you.
Miracle PA bought a Falcon Blade first item, so it must be good.
Arteezy said he didn't like the item at all.
Oh,
but it gives twice the region, or the mana region, as a Sage's Mask. So it seems pretty good for something like PA. I don't know.
Yeah, mana item. Mana item for cores that want mana, I think. Seems like it could be. Speaking of RTZ, he's streaming, or at least he was when we started the podcast, so listeners, get there now. Oh, wait, you can't, because it's a podcast.
Get those notifications enabled for RTZ.
Yeah, I get emails from Twitch sometimes. I check my ancient email accounts and got a million Twitch emails. Blah blah is live, whatever. So that's the end of episode 121. Thanks to all the listeners for listening to us in 2020. 121 apps strong. Many more to come in the new year, I hope. Until then, have a final whistle, and we'll see you again next year.
2021.
Happy New Year.
Happy
See
New
you
Year.
next year.